There we go. That makes it official. Once you hear that weird, creepy voice of saying it's being recorded, now you know. So, okay, tonight we have Eric in the hot seat, who has joined us a little bit in the after party, but we get to know him tonight on a much better, more personal level. And we get to discuss the ever-present, always growing issue of gossip and the poison it brings within the LDS dating community. So tonight will be kind of an interesting show, and hopefully everybody will have an opportunity to participate if they so choose, asking questions, maybe popping on with a comment, but we're certainly going to try and keep this on a good level so we are not sitting here gossiping as we're discussing gossiping ourselves. So
right. Exactly.
That's the one thing we got to make sure we avoid. Yes. So, okay, well, having said that, if you're new to the show, please give us a like on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, help us grow the show. We really appreciate you being here. Eric, welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. My seat is a little warm.
Yes. Are you feeling the heat? A little nervous, huh?
No, actually, no.
All right. Well, good. Well, we got to ramp it up a little bit then.
Yeah, there's nothing to be nervous about. You're good. You're among friends.
That's right.
That's what he thinks.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 friends and
now I'll remember next time I see Terry.
I kid.
Nice. So Eric, I mean, I have talked with you, gosh, I don't know, maybe a handful of times, if that, on the after party show, but I don't really know you, man. I don't really know much about you other than you live in Utah, I believe, right? Not Idaho. Okay. And that's about the depth of my knowledge of you. So tell us a little bit about you. What do you do? Where are you from originally? All that good stuff. Tell us a little bit about you.
So I was born in Salt Lake City area. Then when I was in 5th grade, I think it was, we moved out to a place called Bluffdale, Utah. It's the south end of Salt Lake Valley. Back then it was a little bit more open than it is now from the building. You know, there's a lot more building going on. Anyway, I went to high school in Bingham High, graduated in 1987. Still not old. Both of my parents were teachers. My mother was a high school teacher at Granger High. My dad taught Salt Lake Community College, taught welding. I never did want to be a teacher. I don't know why, but I didn't. But I got benefits for going to school. So after high school, I went to college, Salt Lake Community College, where I got some discounts and all that from dad being a teacher. So I did electrical program, and then I started working. After a couple of years, I started working as an electrician. So if anybody knows the construction trade, you're an apprentice for a while, and then you can get your journeyman license. So I got my journeyman license in year 2000. Okay. So I've been off and on with construction since 2000. I've also got a CDL, so I can, when work slow or something, I want to travel, whatever, I can drive truck. I've done that several times. I also, when I was a younger kid, I always wanted to be a cop. So I did go into law enforcement in 06 to 08. In 08, some unfortunate events happened where I was set up by a bad cop in a situation where I ended up breaking policies and got let go. Unfortunately, got put on probation, but then again, I could come back after the 4-year probation. But at the time I was single, so I've never done it because law enforcement doesn't pay very well. As a single guy paying child support, it does not pay very well. Anyway, so married 3 times. First time 16 months. I did not know really what love was at the time, but I just thought, well, she pays attention to me. I didn't get a lot of dates through high school, so when a girl paid attention to me, I figured that must be love.
Oh.
Wrong. Anyway, 16 months later, divorced, and then
second. Any kids with that one?
Any kids? No kids with her. Just 16 months with her, and then I met my kid's mother. Can't remember when, but anyway, we were married for 10 years. Through those 2 of those 10 years was when I was law enforcement. She and I had 2 kids, the 2 girls that I have. And then that ended in 2010. And then my third marriage was in 2014 to 2015 for 10 months. She was an abusive person due to having an ex-husband that was addicted to porn. So she was taking some being a victim in different ways. So I was getting, seeing abuse. So I got out of that 10 months later and divorced 2015, and here I am 2021 and still single. I don't feel bad for myself for being single. No relationship. I haven't had a girlfriend in the 5-6 years I've been single. I'm not one of these days, it'll happen one day, but until then I'm going to work on myself, self-improve, get better, become a better person, become a better man, become a better dad, better person overall. So I want to be married again, but it's not a focus to find somebody, if you will. It's a focus more of improving myself every day, doing what I can, helping friends, doing service. What areas can I improve on? I questioned a few things about 6 months ago, though, as far as, I don't I don't go out on a lot of dates. So I got in touch with a mentor, and I've been working with a mentor the last 6 months, and that's actually brought to surface a few things with family, because I'm not very close to my family at all. My mom died in 99 from colon cancer, and she was pretty much the glue of the family. So once she died, then I've only got one sister. I don't have a brother, so it's just my sister and my dad. I'm not close to either one of them. And because of that, and because of my sister being best friends with my ex, my kid's mom, there's been a lot of challenges with my ex and my 2 girls and my family and stuff like that. So I've had
So,
some.
I don't mean to cut you off, but when you say a mentor, are you meaning like a dating coach or something like in your life? Is it just for dating, or is it just like your whole life kind of scenario?
So her name is Beth. She reached out she got introduced to us on a singles chat, a messenger chat group. A guy, his name Mark Dominguez, he introduced her to, hey, she's a day coach, life coach, etc. And at that time I was kind of thinking that, you know what, I feel there's some areas of my life personally that I can change, or I can redirect, or I need to get clarity in them better so I can improve myself in different areas. And was having a hard time identifying those areas.
Okay.
But I felt it inside that I had areas that I needed to, improve. So yeah, dating coach / mentor.
So that's kind of interesting. Just on a dating coach side, I mean, we're thinking like Hitch here, right? Like you've seen that movie with Will Smith.
What's
with
that?
Hitch. You've seen the movie Hitch with Will Smith, right? Where he's kind of the little dating coach mentor. That's the right movie, right?
Yeah.
I can't ask Celeste. She's never seen
I'm
the
like,
movie.
I don't know.
So yeah,
I don't know.
Celeste has seen 3 movies in her whole life, or something like
That is not true.
that. Okay, maybe 4, but not a whole lot.
Do 5. Do 1 tonight.
I'm
How
at least
about
on
5?
2 hands here. So
Anytime I throw out a movie reference, she's like, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm always curious, like, what kind of things do these guys do when you go there and you're like, hey, I need kind of a little help getting direction in this area of my life? Like, is there like a program they start you on? They got like booklets, or how does that go?
So her husband is also a mentor. I started talking to both of them. And what they did is they both recommended me to download The Secret and start listening to the book The Secret, and basically put that to heart. And which I have done that. I probably listen to it at least once a week, because each time I listen to it, I gain something more. I get more clarity about it, as far as just the law of attraction.
Have you yet received any checks in your mailbox? I'm always curious about that with The Secret. So I love that part of it where they're like, oh yeah, just think positive. Checks just start showing up. Like, let me know how that works out for you.
I'll let you know how that works out. Not yet, but I'll let you
If
know.
it does, I'm buying the book tomorrow. So yeah.
I think things can work out for that. The reason why I say that is I've read the book Think and Grow Rich. And in that book, they talk about the steel industry and other industries.
Mhm.
And they have guys they had the thought in their mind of, like the Ford guy, he wanted to build a vehicle and he had to go to several people to accomplish that task and, build a vehicle. So I think a lot of it is the energy he puts out there. But anyway, a few things I had to change. Yes. The way I talked, as far as what type of female I was attracted to, but what I would say is I'm not attracted to this type, and that is the exact type I was attracting. So I've had to change the wording around to where I'm attracted to this versus I'm not attracted to this. If that makes sense.
So more like positive attraction, not like negative repulsion.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Gotcha.
And it can work, and it works that way. I've talked to other people and they're like, oh yeah, I say that a lot too, as far as the negative part, and that's what they get. And I'm like, yeah, okay, now you need to do it more in the positive.
Mhm.
So I've seen a difference as far as that goes. One reason why I hired her and have been working with her is because she and I have a very, very similar situation as far as our kids go. I have not, my ex-wife is a very, facts are, she's a very vindictive, very unforgiving type of person. And for her, the only way she can get in her mind, I want to hurt you because you hurt me. I want to hurt you back. That's how I am. And she's using the girls to do that. So she'll do whatever she's done whatever she could do to get the girls to where they don't want a relationship with me right now at all. So
And how old are your girls?
15 and 17.
Okay.
So a little background on that. I've been to a reunification therapist. I've been to some other people just to do my part in trying to bring that relationship back. It ended up with the reunification therapist also telling me that my kids don't want a relationship with me and she's not going to do any more. So it's difficult when she has them all the time. But so I haven't seen them for 3 years. Coming this summer, the end of this summer, I haven't seen them nor heard from them or talked to them in 3 years.
And they live there in Utah with you?
They're in Kansas, Utah. It's an hour and a half away from me,
Okay.
approximately. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, do you see them at all, or is it just through the courts kind of thing?
They're at the age now, 15, 17, where the state of Utah at 14, they can choose whether they want to see their parents or not. So if we went to court, the guardian ad litem and the juvenile court system would get involved and ask them, and where they're very adamant about, no, I don't want to see. And plus they would bring in the reunification therapist as well, and she would say her part. And I really don't think that the judge would be like, you go see your dad.
So do you try to do things like write them letters and cards just so you can say on your end you were trying, even if they aren't receiving it on their end? Like even if
Yep.
they're like throwing it right in the trash, like just to show like, because when they're older, they're going to think differently. They're going to look back. Okay, good.
Yeah. So I'll write letters, and it's hard to know, exactly what to write, because
Right.
I don't want to get in a lot of depth with them as far as what I'm doing. Number one, my ex does not need to know what I'm doing in my life. I don't want to give her any ammo, which she hasn't really used, and it's just really difficult to know, I don't want to talk about me necessarily a lot to them. I want to, so it's just kind of a basic, I hope things are going well. Hope school's going well. Love you. And a lot of times I will tell them something like, okay, I want to pinpoint something I did this week where I thought about them. Hey, I thought about you when I was up on the hike. I saw a flagpole and I thought one day when we have a relationship again, it would be fun to go on a hike and go see a flagpole like I saw. Something like that, so they know I'm thinking of them. Also, my mentor told me that my mentors also have a mentor that they pay and that they're also using.
Mm-hmm.
There's a strategy that you can use that they've used, and it helps bring a lot of emotion out to where you just go and have a discussion with them. So if you're hiking or on the drive or whatever, you can actually kind of get yourself in the mode where you feel like the person is next to you. So I've
Right.
done that. I've done that with both my girls. I've been on a hike and talked to both of them as far as these are the facts. Really quick, this is the fact that, yes, your mom and I went through this and this has happened and we don't see each other, but this is where I want the future to go. I try not to go a whole lot into the past because it's the same thing and I don't want to attract the same thing, and focus more on, the future and where
What
we
you're
can
hoping
go.
for.
What's that?
I said, like what you're hoping for in the future once y'all
Yeah.
reconnect.
Yeah, exactly. And say, I do my best as well to not even bring their mom up, because I don't want them to feel like, well, in the past you've said this about mom and I didn't like it. So I try not to even, in a couple of my talks, I've actually said, your mom's a great woman. She is a great mom. She's loves you. She's done her best with what she can, and she got remarried. You've got a great stepdad. He's a deputy sheriff, and you've had a really good childhood. They've done a very good job at raising you, and I just kind of leave it at that, because I do not want to have any. I don't want them to feel like there's anything negative coming from me towards her.
Are you
Yeah.
sealed to them? Were you guys married in the temple?
So my ex and I were married in the temple. At some point in time after the divorce, she did ask for a sealing cancellation, which I don't know if you know the process. You have to write a letter to the First Presidency. And I was honest about it. I said that I'm happy for them. I support them in being sealed and everything else. But I questioned her forgiveness as far as through the divorce, and explained the situation with the girls and where things were at. Because I felt it was important that the church leaders know how, how I was being affected and how the girls were being affected. So I did that. I sent it off to her bishop. He read it and he's like, good enough, it'll work, whatever. So I don't know if they've ever gone through or not, but I do know that they did that. But I am sealed to the girls. She and I were sealed a year after we were married, so the girls were born into the covenant.
Great. So when they were younger, before you kind of had this break in communication with them, were you close? I mean, did you see them often, or was it sort of spotty, or what did that relationship look like?
So they were what, 5 and 6, I think, something like that, when we divorced. I saw them. I was living up in a town called Peoa, and it was about 20 minutes away from where they were living. So I would go pick them up every Wednesday afternoon, do homework with them, take them back. That was going on for a good year or two. I would see them every other weekend. So for quite a few years, I was able to have them on the weekends and things like that. It just recently, 2017-ish, something like that, is when the drama started with my sister being at my dad's house, and me moving into Spanish Fork. And I heard them say, well, my mom always tells us that dad doesn't have a really big house, and so we shouldn't like it a whole lot, and dad doesn't have much of a yard, so we should just go over to grandpa's all the time and things like that. So I knew there was things going on.
Have you ever heard of the book,
Um,
Chances Are You'll Be Exalted? I think that's the name of it.
No.
I'm pretty sure Chances Are You'll Be Exalted. It was by, what is their name? I'd have to look and see. He's a professor at BYU. And essentially the gist of it is kids go off the deep end, kids kind of go all over the place. And we do all the time. And we're always extremely hard on ourselves. And we go through these pockets where we think there's no hope. Maybe my kids are completely like away from the church or whatever. But he goes through and outlines some covenants and some kind of like promises that were made. And like, Heavenly Father, it's his work and his glory, like an active work to try and like build families and get people exalted. Like this is what he wants. And he's going to continue that work. He's going to do everything he can to try and make these families like eternal and come back around. And how sealings work. I mean, I'm same boat as you, right? Like I've got my two girls, I'm sealed to them. Obviously I'm not with their mom anymore, but at the same time, they are my kids. Like, I don't care what anybody says, they're my kids. And there will come a time when all of these things, maybe they won't want to see me, or they're going to be kind of off on the deep end as well, or whatever that might look like. But this book is about giving you kind of hope of there will come a time when all of those things, all these kind of frailties of this moral life, all the fighting, all the kind of backbiting and things like that will seem so petty and distant. And Heavenly Father will have a way of bringing that kind of back around. So if you ever kind of are feeling in the dumps about your girls and their situation, or just your kids, or anybody in the audience that might have kids that are kind of off the deep end, and you just think, oh man, they're just gone. Great book. It gives you a lot of hope about, look, it's Heavenly Father's not here looking for things to strike us down on. He's here to try and do everything he can to get us where he wants us to be. And that is back with him. So, and chances are, hence the name of the book, they will get
And
there.
that does it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
anyway,
I know
throw that in.
Chances are.
As for,
Let's see. Yeah.
I'm
I'll
trying
look it
to
up.
find
Go
it. That's
ahead.
why. Go ahead. Go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. For me personally, I don't question. I feel like my faith is strong enough. My testimony is strong enough. I don't question, rather, I'll see him again, or question anything like that. I don't question the Lord's hand. I think part of that was because when I was in 2014, I was excommunicated from the church, and it took 5 years to come back to get my priesthood blessings restored and everything else. So through learning the process of why excommunication is in the church, the process of it, the reasoning behind it, knowing it's from the Lord, knowing that the Lord is giving us a chance to, gain a better testimony, realize what we've done, and learn one big lesson is to be able to forgive ourselves for the mistakes we made. My faith and testimony grew quite a bit from that, which it should. So through that, through self-improvement, through books I've read, through my self-confidence coming up and building that throughout the 5 years or whatever that it's been, just building, and through seeing what I've gone through with my family, and seeing other families, and how I wish it would be, but I realize where things are at. I don't question, rather I will see my girls. I've had when my stake president, I sat down with him to get my priesthood blessings back. We went through the temple questions, and he's like, if you get your blessing restored, we might as well just give you a temple recommend right now. And I said, yeah, we might as well, because I'll be worthy, because I'm worthy of it. And I told him a little bit about it, and he said, promise you live your life the way you know you're supposed to live it, being worthy of the temple at all times, being a good priesthood holder, the way you're supposed to live, the way you've lived the last 5 years to get back to where you're at. The Lord knows where you're at. The Lord knows your situation, and you will be blessed. He will help you. He is helping you, and he will bless you with your girls again one day. And I truly believe that.
Absolutely.
I feel I feel like every time I would sit down with my bishop or I sit down with stake president, I actually view them and see them as they're the Lord. You know, they're the Lord's tools. And so I have taken that to heart. So I don't question. There's a lot of people that have questioned their faith in the church this last year with COVID because, oh, we don't go to church and we don't go to the temple and we can't and everything else. And to me, it's like, well, there's a reason I think why they come follow me. The church went to 2-hour blocks prior to COVID. We have to come follow me to do the study at home. There's a reason why. Now I see there's a reason why it happened prior to COVID. So we are supposed to be at home teaching our kids and building that family unit at home more now and building our faith and building our testimony and building upon that right now versus losing it because we can't go to the temple or because we can't go to church. So it's a good book, which I'm sure it is, and I will read it because I'd like to just to see what it has. But my faith and all that hasn't wavered or anything, if that's not the right word, but I don't question if it'll happen or not.
Yeah, it definitely will. Like I said, that book kind of lays it out really nicely for you. But you're kind of already, the same belief. Heavenly Father really wants to have that function. And part of it is teenagers are teenagers, and everybody says that.
Right.
But, you're still their dad. And there is that healing power that there are blessings associated with that we don't even understand. So
right,
they're yours. They'll be back. So
yeah, they will.
Yeah.
So there's like I say, going back to the mentor thing, there's a lot I've learned from her on things like triggers, how people can work on triggers. I was up in Boise last weekend with some friends up there and went for a hike. I had one of those talks with my dad. I've had some resentment towards my dad because of the way that the relationship I have with him, there's been some resentment, and it came up with my mentor, and it was time to just, and I felt my dad's presence there. I mean, my dad's not dead, he's still alive, but I felt the presence and felt like I'm actually talking to him. And there was a lot of negative that came up, but a lot of it has been negative, sadly. But I also, like I said, I explained in a positive way that, we can build this back together and have a good relationship. And so I think it felt good. So I think as far as, having a mentor, she's done a really good job as far as maybe not so much as the dating part, which is okay. But I think a lot of this, I've needed to allow it to surface and come up. And she's like, these have been walls. You haven't really realized that you've had walls, but they've been walls, mental and emotional walls that you've needed to take care of and really come up to surface and let it out so that you can feel you can move forward in life in different areas.
Well, don't you think that those areas that you're improving on, that's going to benefit you when you find someone you want to seriously date, So even though right now you're saying it's not helping your dating life, I think it definitely will in the future. So,
yeah. Like, for example, I've always wanted to be a business owner and some kind of business. Every time back when I was working for the state of Utah, it was one of my jobs. I told my dad that I wanted to look into electrical engineering because it pays more money and it would be much different than construction. And the words out of his mouth, something like, well, you were never good at math, and so you won't make it. So don't even try. So there's been a lot of that I've dealt with from my dad as far as, you won't do it. When I went through police officer standard and training to be trained to be a police officer, I told my wife at the time, do not tell my dad or my sister what I'm doing. I'm not going to tell them. We're going to tell them a week prior to graduation because I don't want to hear a dang thing about it. And so a week prior to graduation, after I passed the final test, that's when I went and told my dad, hey, I've gone through post all the way through. I'm graduating next week. I'd love to have you come. Oh, why didn't you tell us? And I just said, because I didn't want to hear anything about it. Oh, it was kind of he didn't know where to go with it, but it also allowed me to just say that, and it stopped it in the water instead of going into, more negativity.
So let me ask you a question. Now that you're kind of working with your mentor and you're plotting changes and how you approach the dating scene and things like that, what are some positive changes that you would say, I've done X, Y, or Z, and it's really made a difference for me?
I have a better outlook on more clarity as far as the type of person I want or want to be with. I've actually written down some qualities on a piece of paper. I've heard of several people that have done that, and actually the person that they are with, the qualities that are written down match that person.
Mhm.
So that, and I think just more of just a positive vibe, what I'm putting out there, the people that I'm also paying attention to the people I'm surrounding myself with more so. Like there's a lot of Facebook groups, 2 or 3 Facebook groups that I belong to. Most 2 or 3 of the groups, when we go to things, a lot of the people are drinking. I know I don't, drink. I don't care. They're good people, but it's obviously not something I want. But I pay close attention to who's not drinking, who is drinking.
Yeah.
And I'm good friends with some of the people that are drinking, but I know that that's not something I want in a female. And so I have those boundaries there as far as yeah, she might be cute, but it's going to stay as friends and nothing more, and go from that. But I also look at myself more as what kind of an example I'm being around other people as well. How am I carrying myself? And also, how am I talking? I'm getting very, and have become very careful on the conversations, trying to do my best to keep my conversation positive for what I say, and also how the conversation goes around people. So if it starts getting negative, can I turn it around, or do I just walk away?
So I have a question. So with the growth and the learning that you have experienced and you're starting to understand, when you have potential conflicts, whether it's with friends or coworkers or whatever, how do you handle it now in comparison to years past?
So there's a book I read that can't remember the name of it right offhand. Skill with People. I can't remember the author's name. 20 or 40 page book, little booklet. It's called Skill with People. In that book, he talks about one skill is being able to agree to disagree, have an understanding of people. So what I try to do is I try to put myself in their shoes to see where they're coming from, get an understanding where they're coming from, their experience. Hey, what experience have you had here? To explain it to me so I can kind of get an idea. And also to validate them. I think people want to be validated. They want a lot of people. This is one thing I learned from
somebody's feelings. Like that's their feeling. You can't just dismiss it.
Right. And a lot of people, I think, get into that thing is, well, those are your feelings. That doesn't matter. Well, yes, it does.
It does matter.
That's that person's feeling. We may not agree, but we don't have to agree.
Right.
But if we validate that person, number one, that person is going to feel special. That's going to open up their heart and their mind to us, knowing that, hey, he cares to listen to what I'm saying because he validates me and he knows that these are my feelings. And it's okay to have those feelings. And if you tell a person, I've learned to do that, it's okay, those are your feelings and you need to own them. And it's okay to have those feelings because those are yours. And I'm not here to tell you that those are wrong, because those are yours. They may not be mine, but those are your feelings, and it's okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I know you just said this, but when you validate somebody, that doesn't mean you have to agree with what they're saying, right? And I think people sometimes get that confused, where if we're going to say, I hear what you're saying and I hear that this is affecting you in whatever manner, that doesn't mean that we are agreeing with anything they're saying. It's just their reality, their truth, and their feelings in that moment, and they just need to be heard. And I think it's a great trait to have, especially if you're going to be, dating and getting married and having a good relationship with communication wise. Like, you have to be able to validate someone so that they know they're special and that they're being heard. So
Right. Yeah, because what happens if your spouse comes home and she's got certain feelings, he or she has certain feelings, and you're not validating them? That can cause an issue for who knows how long. So
right.
if you learn to validate, then, and learn, a lot of people too, I think, are just so close-minded because they haven't dealt with issues from the past. They struggle with, I was abused, or I wasn't heard, or whatever, and they put the walls up, and they're just not open to doing that because they feel, like you said, Celeste, they feel like, I have to, these are my feelings, and so you need to listen to me because these are my feelings and they're the right ones. I think they're the right ones, instead of, no, not necessarily the right ones. You can have your feelings and I can have mine. They may not be the same ones because we're two separate people.
Right. Right.
I think
Absolutely.
sometimes too, people
So,
get in the mindset that their feelings actually don't matter. So then they fail to communicate effectively. And then it's like a, downhill battle, or, it's just, it turns into a bigger issue all around because they fail to communicate what they're thinking, because they feel like their
yeah,
feelings don't matter at all.
Right.
yeah. And communication is such a big, it's so important in any relationship. For any relationship to work, two people need to be able to learn to communicate however they're going to do it extremely well with each other. And I think that
And
in
effectively listen.
Right.
well, in the book, Skill of People, he also says, we were born with two ears for a reason. We should be listening twice as much as we are talking. And people have a hard time with that. People want to be heard. They want to, I want you to hear me. I want you to hear me out. And it's important as a validation to hear people out, but you can also learn a lot. So one thing I like to do when I'm in a group of people, friends, whatever, and I learn about what guys have done and what they do on dates that girls don't like. I also learn about what girls like and don't like on dates, and what not to do, and what to do, or what to say and what not to say, and why, and things like that, by just listening. I shut my mouth and I just listen to conversations. I'll go sit amongst three females that I'm friends with, and because I can hear a certain discussion going on about this guy or that guy or whatever. No, can you believe he did this or said this? I'll just sit there and listen. And it's amazing the information you can gather of what to do, what not to do, how this happened, what happened, things like that, by just listening and validating, like, you're kidding me, that actually happens? Yes. Oh, okay. Wow.
So
So
that kind of is an interesting transition into our topic tonight, which is about these sort of things where you hear the gossip going on in the dating community, and especially in the LDS dating community. And I think it's, it's not just, to be fair, it's not just the dating community. I think this is the church, and not just our church in general. Anytime you've got a church group, you're going to have this kind of thing, any sort of little community. I mean, you could have an HOA and there's stuff like this that's going to go on, right?
right.
So in your experience, it sounds like you've kind of run into some of this. I mean, for those of us who don't live in Utah, we kind of consider you being down there in Utah as like, you are in the dating mecca, right? But along with that comes all the
Utah.
drama, right? All the things that are happening and everybody talking. And so how has that hindered you in your kind of quest to find somebody new? What kind of things has that kind of done for you that has been problematic? Or what have been your experiences with it? Maybe good experiences.
So I've learned to, and it's difficult because our human nature, you want to jump in. You hear something negative about somebody, or you hear this, or oh, this person did this, or oh, this person did it. Human nature. We want to know. We want to be in the know. We want to find out the information. Oh, we want to find out the information about this guy. This guy did this to this girl, or whatever. You know, the girls want to know. When the guys want to know because, oh, was it good or bad? You know, we want to know.
Yeah.
But we also don't realize that if it's negative, it's not a good thing, and it's hard to. Human nature, we go to the negative. It's easy to talk negative about people because it's human nature. It takes a lot more effort to talk positive and remain positive and keep a positive flow going than it does. So for myself, I do my best that when I hear negative talk, I either stop it. I'll say something like, hey, you know what? This is starting to go into a negative conversation, or this could lead us into a negative conversation, or you're talking negative about somebody, and it's really not cool to talk negatively about that person because I know who they are and that's not cool. So let's redirect, and let's go on to something more positive and discuss something more positive. There's a football game going on or whatever, just redirect it. I do my best around people to either remove myself if I have to from the situation, and I will just say, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be part of this conversation anymore. It's negative, and I will walk away.
Yeah.
Completely remove myself from drama. I really feel that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I have to say this because I mean, I get told a lot of rumors, and it blows my mind sometimes. My favorite thing is I always say, okay, how does this affect your day by telling me you're garbage?
That is good.
It shuts them up.
Terry hears a lot of it because she's an admin of a large group, so
Yeah.
it all gets dumped
Right.
onto her.
Yes.
Yeah. I learned the hard way years and years ago that there's also, when you're in a group that's gossiping, sometimes even if you just sit back and just listen and don't participate, you can still get labeled as being a part of the gossip in the group. And I learned that the hard way. So, because there was a scenario where I was in the group sitting there listening, and I didn't agree with anything they were saying, but I didn't stand up and say that, right? So I just kind of sat back. And then as the rumors spread, I was in the mix. So, well, Celeste was there and all this was being said. And it was nothing to do with me, but it made me realize that in those moments where I'm in a group and there's gossip going on, or there's discussion of something that I don't agree with, or that I can tell this is kind of one of those subjects where I don't want to be connected to it. I just, as kindly as possible, I'll just let them know that I'm like, hey, this is not my view. This is kind of where I stand on the subject or the person. Even if you bring up one positive trait about the person they're trashing, they shut up. Like they just stop. Like if you're like, well, they do all those things and they're complaining, and you say, but they're super kind. She brought me brownies the other night or whatever. Then it's all of a sudden, it's like poof, and they just can't say anything anymore. It's like it broke their little gossip bubble. And then I can just get up and walk away, or like feel like I've disconnected from the rumors and the gossip, and that I can't be tagged in it anymore, because that's not a place I want to find myself again.
So I did have an experience that I'll share. I won't name names. Person A, person B. I was trying to get in to when I was first into the single scene. I heard about single mingles, and it, being a Facebook group, but also being a Marco Polo group. And I thought, well, hey, that's cool. I've never Marco Poloed. I'd like to Marco Polo. Maybe there's some people I can meet, girls I can meet, guys I can meet, friends, things like that. Anyway, I went to a Bear Lake retreat with some people, and there was a small Marco Polo group put together by person A. And now some of those people were part of the Single Mingles group, and I wasn't part of that yet. But anyway, I got up to Bear Lake to the retreat. There was about, I don't know, 60 something people. And I don't know, Terry probably had heard back a couple years ago, heard about this.
Yeah, I did.
By saying I won't name names, but anyway,
It's okay.
what I'm going to explain, the
Yeah, no
way
names, please.
the way it affected me personally. The way it affected me personally was what I found out later was part of what was said. There was some truth about it as far as because I was part of what was being told. Okay, Eric and I did this. There was very little of the truth that I knew of that was being told, but more from what I found out, not what happens, if that makes sense. So later, I had people cold shouldering me the whole weekend. People that I did not know. I'd walk up, introduce myself. I knew some of them from Facebook, and others I'd walk up, oh, hi, they'd walk off. And the only people that really talked to me were people that I had already met at a couple of the Hot Springs singles events. So the whole weekend, I'm kind of like, why are people giving me cold shoulder? I didn't understand it. So on the way home, a gal, a friend of mine, she rode with us. She opened up and said and explained to me what had happened and what was going on that weekend. And it totally shocked me. I was like, what the heck? So I told her exactly what happened, my experience on what happened. And it was, everything started from a previous date from a female that I went out with. And I told her how the date was. Anyway, it amazed me on how things can just be turned around, and everybody, one person hears one thing, one person hears another thing, so like that. And I heard so many different stories, so many different variations of what happened from different people. When I got home, I quit going to things for about 3 months because it knocked me back emotionally and mentally so badly that I had to take a step back for a little while and really and think and just be like, what was going on? What happened here? Why were people doing this? So I just had to take a step back, and I realized how much talking about people, what it did. It was a good experience to me on how much negative can come through a little positive, and what people actually hear. This person hears a little bit, this person hears a little bit, and how they treat people because of their different experiences on what they hear.
Okay, so in the chat there, they brought up a question. So what if we know that someone is a massive gossip and someone's just barely kind of got in the group, they're kind of befriending this individual and they don't realize that this person's like a gossip? What do? Do you warn them or do you steer clear? Like what is our place when we know someone has a tendency to gossip and there's someone who is not aware of that yet? How would we handle that? Anyone?
So I think there's many different ways that you can handle it. Like, for example, I tend to be very forward, very blunt, very direct on things sometimes. And sometimes that's not quite the best way to handle talking to somebody.
So do you actually call somebody out and say, hey, you're
What's
gossiping,
that?
knock it off? You actually call them out? Do you say, hey, you're gossiping right now, I know what you're saying is untrue, stop?
So for me, like, yeah. So when I saw that the topic was gossip, I've always thought gossip was talking false, like lies, but it actually says it's talking truth. But it's actually talking about talking about people, instead of talking about somebody or wanting or not knowing, go ask that person.
Yep.
To me, it's like gossip needs to just be stopped. If you have a question with somebody, go ask that person. Just go ask them, hey, just ask them point blank, hey, can I have a discussion with you? I don't know you very well. This is what I've heard. Or, hey, will you tell me about this? And let them speak for their own self. I think I've seen people where they gossip about other people, and I've seen it handled different ways. I've seen it handled very bluntly. You need to knock it off, or you're probably going to lose friends and people are going to walk away from you. I've seen it handled where it's like, not really cool. This is what, and a little bit lighter, a little bit softer. So I've seen it handled both ways. Me, I'm more of, knock it off.
Right.
Being in the singles scene where we're at, especially divorced kids, this is really kind of ripe ground for Satan to sow seeds of gossip, right? We all have a past. We all have a story. You've been divorced, Eric, 3 times. Do you know that guy, Eric, has been divorced 3 times, right? Like, people talk. And it's sort of one of these things where I feel like the people who do the most talking are the people who probably have the most baggage, but yet it's a diversion tactic, right? Like, if I can just bring that baggage onto other people and start diverting and make them look at Eric or Everett or Celeste or Terry, then boy, I don't have the spotlight on me, right? To see what kind of garbage I've got in my closet. So, and we all have it.
I think a lot of that stems from people that have not taken the time to recognize, accept, and be open to dealing with triggers that they've had throughout a marriage that's caused hurt and pain. They put the walls up and everything else, and they don't want to deal with it because a lot of that stuff is painful to deal with and painful to go through for getting healthy. But if you don't take care of it, the next relationship is going to be close to the same as the one in the past because you have not dealt with the triggers, you have not healed and dealt with these things. And it's very, very important to do that. For example, I was told by several people after that incident and everything else, I was actually led into single mingles and things like that. I had 2 or 3 people come up to me and say, after some point in time, and I think this has a lot to do with it for people, I proved myself by just who I am and how I carried myself. I proved myself to be a person that people could start trusting, the way I conducted myself, the way I talked, the way I validated people, the friend that they saw me that I am and have become and things like that. You can prove yourself to be a good person or a bad person. And that's how so I think that's how I became, part of single mingles at that time. But anyway, I think people can prove themselves in a good way or a bad way too. Like you were saying, oh, did you hear about Eric? He's got 3 marriages. Yes, I've got 3 marriages. Is that bad? No, I know some people that have had 6. But what I look at it is I say, get to know who I am and find out the lessons that I've learned and what improvements I've made and how I've become a better person for me from those 3 marriages.
Have you ever had anything from any of those 3 marriages seep out into the dating scene? Like, oh, I met someone who knows your ex and, they're good friends with them and they said this or they said that about this Eric guy. Have you ever dealt with anything like that?
No, my kid's mom, she started dating her husband directly after we got divorced. He's a deputy sheriff up there. They're high school friends. So they were actually texting prior to the divorce, whatever. So they got married 16 months after, 16, 17 months after we got divorced. So I've never had to deal with that, her being in the singles world. My last ex, I actually met a gal last Thursday that actually knows who she is, but she never knew me when I was married to her. She was just like, oh my gosh, yeah, I know her. These are the dealings I've had with her, and that was it. So it's very, very minor dealings, you know, knew her by name and a couple things like that, and just not really, didn't really know her real personally that way. I've talked to some of the people that I'm friends with. I'm really good friends with a couple that is up in Camas. He's the chief of police up in Camas. I've talked to them before and asked them, hey, do people talk around? What do people say, you know, up in Camas about me or anything like that? And like, nothing's ever said. I mean, you know, they know how your ex is, they know how the family is and things like that. Other than that, there's nothing ever said. So I've never had to worry about that.
This is one of the things that, you know, I have been a victim of to some degree or another from an ex that just feels the need to go out and spread, you know, their venom for whatever reason. And she probably will never stop. That's just kind of who and how she functions, you know, but it is one of those things I don't appreciate it. And, you know, it's the worst rumors, the worst lies are those that are half truths or even a fractional truth, because then it puts that little tinge of doubt in people's mind, like, well, maybe, you know. But it's always one of those things when I run into someone that's like, oh, I know your ex. To be honest with you, like at that point, I don't want anything to do with that person. I'm like, oh, you do? Okay, cool. Well, see you later. I don't want anything to do with my ex. And I know like what kind of things have been said. And so I just try and stay away from it as much as possible. Right. Like it's just, that's like a difficult situation. But, and Celeste knows this as well. I've got like, for me, it makes me just want to like get away from all of it, like the whole situation. Like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to like hear the nonsense or the games. I've got a little island like in the middle of the Atlantic that I'm like, okay, that island, it's called Tristan da Cunha. If you guys ever want to like look it up, there's a fascinating little documentary on YouTube about it. But little teeny island, I'm like, if I could just move there, if I didn't have kids, you would see me disappear off the face of the earth and I would just be living up there on that island. Like, all right, I'm out, I'm done. So but that is it. I feel like it's a toxic thing that happens quite a bit. And I know I'm not the only one that like a jealous ex, for example, that somebody who's like upset, like Celeste has felt the wrath sort of thing. And it's just, it's very difficult to deal with, you know, and it's hard because in some point you want to sort of defend yourself, but then there's a part of you that's like, the right thing to do is just turn the other cheek and walk away, right? And but it's a very painful thing. And being in a singles group, it can very easily, if you've got someone who is like a friend of an ex or something like that, that comes along and says, oh yeah, by the way, I know about this Eric guy. And suddenly that little group, like your Bear Lake situation, those rumors get around and you're like, what just happened? That's not me. That's not what really happened. But people don't care. And it can be so destructive. So
a couple weeks ago, I was talking to a gal on Facebook Messenger, just talking and just, hey, let's meet as a friend. There's an age gap there that younger than what I'm interested in as far as dating, but as far as friendship, I'm okay with it. Anyway, one night I met another female friend for lunch here in Lehigh. And I'd mentioned to this gal, hey, if you want to come over and meet some friends of mine, we're in Lehigh for dinner tonight. Come on over, you know, whatever. Public place, you know, making it a safe place. No, thank you. We'll do lunch or dinner next week and we can meet next week. Okay, I let it be. 2 hours later, I get a text from her and a picture, and she had screenshot a picture, and she had taken my profile and put it into a Facebook group. And I don't remember the name of the Facebook group. I think it was a women's only.
Mhm.
And
Yes. Talking
Carrie
about-
knows what's going on with this.
Yeah.
so I looked at it and I'm like, so I sent her a text and I said, what are you digging for? If you want to know anything about me, then quit asking everybody else. Give me a call or shoot me a text and ask me anything. Ask me anything about my child support. Ask me about my girls. Ask me about my family. I don't care. I will tell you. I'm not going to lie. Just what are you looking for? Because what you're doing is pretty stupid and is pretty childish. She had two women four women commented. One person I know, and I sent her a text and I said, thank you for not, thank you for not being sucked into any drama. Appreciate just the one. He's an ex-police officer is all I know, is what she commented. Another gal commented, oh yeah, he and I have been texting back and forth. Well, what they don't know is that gal that commented, I had texted her back and forth 4 texts. The whole conversation that I've ever had with that girl is 4 texts, and that was it. But the girl's intent of doing this, oh, I want to see what trash, I want to see what I can bring up on him. Everything was true, but still it's like, just come to me and ask me instead.
Yeah,
So
but you know, the thing with everything being true, like that is perception, right? Because I think about back when I was dealing with some struggles in my marriage and I just kept it silent. I didn't tell anybody. Um, and I wasn't necessarily my best self. So I would decline invitations to go and do things, go to parties, whatever, lunches and stuff. And, you know, it kind of got to be where what, you know, Celeste is being stuck up or standoffish or whatever, like rumors started flowing, you know, like kind of going on who I was. Um, and it was that I wasn't going. I mean, that was true. I wasn't doing all of the things that I normally would do, but they didn't have the full story. If they would have known the whole story, there wouldn't have been anything to gossip about, at least not in that area. So I think it's important that even though if it's true, it doesn't mean that you have a full picture. And
right,
that you need to realize that a lot of behind the scenes stuff, we don't know. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's gone on in their past or in their present or what they're struggling with, what their demons are. Like we have no idea. So even if at face value, it looks true, yes, Celeste doesn't go out to lunch with us anymore. Maybe she thinks she's too good for us, whatever. The truth
I've heard that
is
rumor a
still not
lot.
the truth.
That's why I started thinking she's too good.
No, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like we have to know the whole story and we don't. And so we just need to give people the benefit of the doubt and stop the gossip when it starts and
Right.
give them say, well, maybe she's having a bad day. Like
Yeah.
be the one to stop it from before it keeps spreading, I guess.
Yeah. So what I did was I got a hold of one of the gals that I know that I do text. I'm really good friends with her. I said, hey, by the way, I noticed you mentioned something, you commented on this thread. If you want to, and this person, she's a single lady, never been married, or no, she's been married once before, has no kids, and so she's had a struggle in the single life from a lot of other single mothers, divorced single moms, and families, young single families, of not being a mother and not having kids. She's had a struggle with that in the state of Utah, that she does not have kids, and so you're not good enough and things like that, she's heard. But anyway, so I had a chit chat with her. I started texting with her back and forth about a couple of things. And she said, no, you and I are good, Eric. I appreciate the fact that you reached out to me. We clarified a couple things and whatnot that way. So you and I are good. But I see your point on why, that the little comment that was made, I didn't have clarity on. And I said, yeah, that's why I contacted you directly, because we're friends and we talk every day. So I wanted to be clear about that. Another thing I could have done also is I could have contacted the other 2 girls that I had had previous conversation with but I did not. The reason being was this girl got what she wanted. She got a little dirt, whatever. Okay, so what? Everything was true that she found. She found out the Salt Lake Tribune had the reason why I got let go on the police department. They had it was public information clear back in 08. She showed me that, and I sent her a text and I said, okay, so what do you want from that? You know, you got the correct information. What do you need? You need any explanation from it? What do you need? And it just, you know, I let it die in the water. So the next day I thought, well, I could say something, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be at a higher level. I'm a person that's at a higher level. I'm going to stop the whole thing. I'm going to put her in her tracks and just be done with the whole thing. I just moved on. I did not give her any more information or any more ammo to continue the drama, to continue whatever. And I just said, you know what? It would have been fun to meet you in person next week for lunch as a friend, like we've always talked. But because of this, I don't need to meet you anymore. So good luck in your quest for who you are looking for. I hope you you find who you're looking for and go from there. And I put an end to it. There was no need. There was no need to continue, contacting anybody else. I think a lot of it needs to be done that way. Just put an end to the gossip and be done, because it just, like we've talked about it's venom. It can become that way, and it can be very hurtful to a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to ask a question for you and for everybody in the audience, just to put it in the chat. And I think most people are going to be in agreement on this question, but there's always some who think otherwise. So the question is this: is it appropriate, or do you think it is the right thing to do to reach out to somebody's ex to find out about them? And the reason I ask this question is because I've seen this posted on the groups before, where people will say, well, I want to know both sides of the story. They're going to tell me their side. I want to know their side. I want to make an informed decision myself. Do you think it is appropriate to reach out to, if you're seriously considering dating somebody, to reach out to that person's ex and find out what their side of the story was?
No. So let me give you a quick example. A gal I met last July at a Boise get together in July. She and I met up there. We started talking, and we were talking every day since then. The next weekend, I went for a camping trip and took some pictures of a gal. I posted it on Facebook. This gal made a comment on one of the threads like, see, I didn't want pictures of me and you camping with everybody else on your camera. I don't know why. Anyway, so this gal that I had started talking to and whatnot, she saw that and she made a comment. And I don't remember what the comment was, like, oh, what's wrong or what happened? Why don't you want pictures with Eric? And this female said, well, just because I don't want to be in a picture with Eric. It's a personal thing. I just don't want to be I don't like to be in pictures usually unless I'm in a picture with girlfriends. Okay, good enough, whatever. But he's yours, and I could tell you all kinds of stuff about him. Anyway, the girl that I met in Boise, she told me, and I think this is really good, I could have gone to that girl and asked her about you, but I wanted to get to know you with my experience only, not through somebody else. So I think somebody, if it's an ex or whoever it is, get to know that person for yourself and have your own experiences getting to know that person yourself versus going to their ex and finding out, because 9 out of 10 times, because of the dating thing and how exes are, you're going to get negative from the ex.
Yeah. So, it's interesting because I think usually there's probably the majority, maybe 90% of people will say, no, that's a bad thing to do. But there's always some who kind of pose an argument and say, well, are you trying to hide something or things like that? What do you think, Terry? Do you think that reaching out to an ex, if you're seriously dating somebody, do you think it's a good idea to reach out to that ex and say, hey, tell me a little bit about Eric. What's he all about? What happened with you guys?
No, because if you cannot make your own opinions and you cannot have your own judgment, then what the heck are you doing? Because I know what my ex has said about me, and honestly, I don't care. I would repeat it right here. But the point is, it's not the truth. And I know the truth, and he knows the truth. And when it comes down to it, if you cannot trust your own opinion or your own instinct on somebody, what are you doing?
Right. And aren't you theoretically in the church, you should be being prayerful and stuff about who you're dating and things like that. I mean, I think the Lord can give you a warning if need be, versus you going to the ex and saying, hey, what red flags did you deal with or whatever. Like that is just, it's just not the way to go, in my opinion.
Well,
I'm gonna be really, really blunt right here, right now, because this just kind of triggered me just a tad.
Oh, we've struck a nerve. All right, let's get Terry fired up. Go, Terry. Unleash the beast. Go for it.
Honestly, people who go to other people and ask their opinion on somebody else lack emotional maturity. They lack the maturity to stand on their own feet and make their own judgment on what is best for them. What is best for somebody and what is best for Jimmy Bob down the street is not going to be good for you. It's okay. Keep your opinions to yourself and keep your judgments to yourself. They're not for anybody else. Done.
Good.
Just drop that mic and walk away, Terry.
Right.
And this concludes the podcast for tonight. Thanks, Terry. We'll talk to you guys later. No,
and not only that, but I feel like the person that asks about, that's not showing very good character on you wanting to get to know this person. If I want to get to know Terry, I'm going to get to know her for who she is and the experiences I have that way, versus asking an ex. It just doesn't show very much character in me or whoever else, And like I say,
like if you're having a conversation with somebody, you're going to be able to figure out really quick if they are just blowing you a line of smoke or if they're being really genuine with you. I mean, you can really, really tell that. I mean, I can. If somebody comes to me and starts telling me something about, somebody else, I'm going to be like, and why are you coming to me with this? Because this is garbage. So
let's think about this in reverse, because let's assume that the ex and the new girlfriend or new boyfriend, let's assume that the marriage or whatever before had children. Okay, so let's say it's me and my ex, and someone comes to me and says, hey, Celeste, tell me about your ex. Like in that moment, I'm thinking, I don't want you with my ex. You would be a part of my kid's life, and I don't want that type of toxic type of ways of dealing with things in my children's life. I would go right to my ex and be like, you better watch out. This person's coming to me trying to get the dirt. Like we all have stories and none of us are perfect. I'm sure we can all pull up something negative about whoever, right? But yeah, that's just bad. Like even if you're the one asking or if you're the one getting asked, I would just steer clear of all that.
I have a really, really close guy friend. Actually, we were really, really close up until this point. This happened, I don't know, 6 years ago. A girl that he was dating had come to me and said, are you two just friends? And can you prove to me that you're just friends? And started asking all these very, just questions that she shouldn't be asking. And I screenshot it and sent it to him. And I said, I'm questioning our friendship right now because she came to me and asked me this. And it really just made me question her integrity.
Right.
As well.
Right, exactly.
We just kind of drifted apart because I just was like, no, I don't want to be a part of that garbage.
Yep.
Yeah. So to give you kind of a little perspective on this question, and Celeste can speak to this a little bit, but like I said, I've had my ex who, to give you an idea, she went and did her thing with another guy, ran off, whatever. But to kind of cover up what had happened, there was like a series of pretty absurd lies, right? And I just thought, whatever, like they're on their face value, they're so absurd, nobody's going to believe those. But clearly there are people who believe just about anything you'll throw out there, right? Like, okay, so what ends up happening is somebody approaches Celeste and says, hey, you don't know this guy. I've got all the dirt on him. Let me tell you all about him, right? And I have no freaking idea who this person is, right? But yet here you've got somebody who is, and the reason they've got their dirt is because they're friends with the guy my ex ran off with. Okay, definitely going to have a skewed opinion, right? But here's this person who doesn't know me. I've never spoken one word to them, never met them in my life that I know of, but yet they've got all the info. They're going to diss and everything else. Now I have a choice, right? Like, it sucks, but I can say, hey, you know what? This is the truth. Either you make a decision for yourself. I'll tell you my side, but I want you to listen to their side, because I don't want you to feel like I'm trying to cover something up. So listen to what they have to say. You know me. I don't even know this person. They're going to claim that they've got all the goods on me, whatever. That's fine. But you make that choice yourself. Now, is it right to have a situation where somebody comes up and says, okay, I've got all the issues because I think this guy's a bad guy or whatever, right? Like, is it okay in that situation to say, well, I'm doing it for the good of this person, right? Like, I'm trying to prevent them from getting into a relationship they might not want to be in. And so I'm going to diss what I've heard. Is that ever appropriate? If you knew someone was like a bad guy or whatever, would you go to your friend and say, hey, that's a bad guy? I definitely would get away from them. Is that an appropriate thing to do?
So I've been to a couple singles activities. There is a single male individual that I know him personally. I've had an experience at his house before personally. He invited two females over. One was married, one was single. And he, when I first got to know him, I didn't know how he was. After the experience I had, I was like, all right, I don't want to be friends with him. And I don't associate with him, but I know his intentions. I've seen his actions and interactions with other females. And I've heard from other females that they don't, what they like and don't like about him, and more of it's not like. So one guy I do know in the singles scene has pulled girls aside and said, be aware of this guy. This is what he's done. This is what his reputation is about. I would caution you about it because this is what the reputation is. And I can, I can say this girl, this girl, this girl, this guy, you can go ask them. So I it's a fine line, I think, right there, because you want to be protective of the person coming in, especially a new female or male coming into this, that's new to the scene per se. But yet you got to be very careful on what's said so it doesn't cross a line, if that makes sense.
So I think people often mean well, right? And this goes back to reaching out in some way, or having your ex reach out to the person you're dating and say, hey, I don't like that person. Well, of course, there's a reason you're an ex, right? There's a reason you're not still together. Of course, things didn't go well. Maybe you're on good terms or whatever, but 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to have some sort of friction and reason why things didn't work out. And so if they come and diss on you and say, you know what, Eric's a bad guy, I don't really like him, I think that you should steer clear of him, and I'm warning you about him, is that appropriate?
I don't think so.
I just kind of want to add something. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So I have a lot of experience with this, of course, because I run a very, very large Facebook group. And it's not necessarily, it has not been done to me, but I have experience with it dealing with other people. And what happens majority of the time is you have a girl who goes out with a guy and the date doesn't go well and she feels that it should have gone well. And then she starts spreading rumors about said guy being a horrible person or this or that or whatever. And they get into this lovely women only Facebook group that I'm such a fan of. Let me just say. They just start spreading all these rumors. Now this Facebook group supposedly was started to empower other women and steer clear of the real true, hey, you should probably pay attention to this. And it turned into a lot of gossip and spread nonsense.
Yep.
And it is absolutely ridiculous. But it happens on a daily basis. These people will just, they just feel like, oh, hey, I had a horrible date, so Sally shouldn't go out with this person because my date was horrible. And they spread these rumors, and what they're doing is they're ruining some innocent person's reputation.
Yep.
And I mean, in the long run, they just don't think about that, and it's really, really sad to see that. I hear it all the time. They say, oh, you should remove so-and-so from the group. Why? Give me a good reason. Why? If you have, court concerns, I need to see court documentation, because I'm just not going to remove people from the group. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's true. And, I think I've seen some comments in the chat that just, it's one thing if we've had firsthand experience, but when we've heard from somebody that this happened to so-and-so, when they were going through a divorce, like they were just totally a narcissist or whatever, I can't tell you how many times I've heard in there when they were going through a divorce, they realized that they were a narcissist or whatever. Well, you know what? A divorce is usually ugly, and they probably were being selfish in that moment, because that's kind of what happens when you go through a divorce. And when people throw that around and start just throwing their ex under the bus because they had an experience, that does not mean that you will have that same experience with that person. So,
But,
Eric,
it's not
ahead.
just
No,
their
go ahead.
ex. They say that to every single person it doesn't work out with. Every person they encounter is a narcissist, but yet they're not clinically being diagnosed. My dog totally knows that I'm being amped up right now. She's like, stop it.
Protect you.
But they throw this word around, and it requires a clinical diagnosis, and they're not understanding that. Not everybody is a narcissist.
Yeah.
So one big thing in down here, I know, is if I know there's 2 or 3 guys in the singles area. They don't come to very many activities, but the word has been around that all they are pretty much serial makeouters. So every time they go to activities, they're trying to walk a girl out to her car, make out, go back, half hour later, try and get another girl, walk her out to her car, make out, go back, okay, try and do that with as many girls as they can that night and do that. Well, that word gets out there, pretty soon you hear about, oh, this guy does this. So based on that same thing, do you warn females about that? Hey, be careful of this guy because of this, because most girls, from what I've heard, most girls say, no, I don't like that. I don't want to kiss a guy that he's doing.
Well, then they say they don't want to. No, it's none of your business to tell people that.
Yeah.
Like, they are women. We are women. We can, if the guy goes to make out with us, we can say, no, I don't want to make out with you.
Yeah.
Like it's none of our business. Like,
so for me,
you don't need to be like some shining, some guy in like armor coming in to save the innocent women's days. Like, we can definitely stand our own ground.
Yeah.
So no, don't be ruining someone else's reputation because you're trying to warn us of something that we can control on our end.
Yeah. And I don't say anything to anybody because I'm the same way. I don't need to say anything about him at all. And I don't, but I've seen about those guys. I've seen other people do that, and I don't think it's right.
Yeah, and they justify it. They're like, well, this is what so-and-so does every time. He takes all the women and does this and that. Well, you know what? It takes 2, first of all. And if the woman's okay with it, all right. I mean, if she's not, she'll tell him.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, we just need to stay out of other people's business. And I think there's very few situations where people should be warning other people. And like it has been said in the chat, like if it's a physical danger and you've personally had an experience with the individual and it's firsthand, and the someone you're talking to is close to you, then maybe that qualifies. That's like, okay, you know, this person was physically abusive to me and I care about you, so I'm going to let you know. It's still your choice on what you want to do, but I have firsthand experience and I just want to warn you. I think that's totally fair. But
Yeah.
if it's, oh, so and so likes to make out with everybody, nah, it's none of our business. Let it be.
Yeah. Even with the abuse allegations, I mean, sometimes I've seen things where, you know, during a divorce or something like that, they get in a scuffle over something else, and like it's something really minor, but then it just gets drug out like to the nth degree. And when people are hurting, people want to like kind of get that vindication all too often, right? They kind of want their pound of flesh to just get back at them. And things can get blown up. Things can get like really, really out of control. Now, if somebody has like a prior history, there's domestic violence, there's court records, things like that, you know, that's a whole different story. If it's like, well, I had a girl come to me one time, like she and her ex, well, actually, I don't even know if they're separated. They've been separated for like 8 years or something like that. I don't know if they ever finally got divorced, but like they were both drunk and then like they got in some goofy little kind of scuffle or something, right? Like, so is it fair for her to say he's an abuser? Like, well, first of all, it wasn't something you even called the police on. Second of all, you were involved too. Like you were doing your part as well. So, you know, while I would say it's never appropriate for a guy, you throw in the alcohol and that, the whole situation was totally a mess. And I'm like, okay, does this situation warrant telling everyone else that this guy abuses women? Do you know what I mean? So in situations like that, I would also be cautious just to verify and make sure that what you're talking about is legit.
Right.
So
I think a lot of it has to do, like Terry said, where's the maturity? We're freaking adults. Where's the maturity level that we're at? Number one. Number two, do we want to be positive in our lives or do we want to always have negative in our lives? You know, just find out from somebody. If you've got a question about somebody or you need to find out the real answer, or whatever, go to that person and talk to them in person. Maybe you'll make a new friend or something, but where the hell is the maturity level, people?
Amen.
You know, and if you're not mentally and emotionally stable yet to where you can, you don't have triggers, to where you don't have to, you know, we react the way we choose to react. Well, if you're not stable enough, work on you. Get more work on you. Read more books. Go to therapy. Quit digging into the negative circle that everybody can get into at.
And just trust your own opinion. Like,
Yeah.
when do you actually start trusting yourself? Because isn't like my opinion is the only one that matters at the end of the day, as far as what I think. I don't have to share it with people, but at the end of the day, my opinion is the only one that matters. And my opinion is going to differ from everybody else in the room, but that's okay. I need to share it.
okay, so everybody knows Terry's opinion is the only one that matters.
Yes.
So your opinions don't matter, only Terry's.
That's right. Only mine. I made my point, right?
Right.
Point. Okay, podcast is done. She made her point.
Right.
This is twice ever. You should have cut the cord twice already.
No, you're doing a great job. I just had a great point and it just went in one ear and out the other that quick. So
Sorry.
yeah. So as far as gossiping within kind of just this dating scene, I see this going around a lot. And the one thing I notice over and over again are those people who are the perpetual kind of gossipers, the ones who are usually bringing it the most. It just sort of swirls around them. And then they always are stuck wondering, why are people talking about me? Like, why is this rumor going around out there? Like, well, you're the type of person that's going to take screenshots of text messages and post them on your Facebook page. you're the type of person that's going to go and cause the drama. And then you're going to wonder why all these things happen. Like, it really starts with us. If you're going to be the type of person to spread it, don't be shocked when it comes back around, because
So
drama sucks.
So I had an incident happen just fairly recently within the group. This lady kept starting some drama in the group, and she kept breaking rules, and we kept giving her a second chance. Well, she took somebody's post, screenshot it, and didn't block out any of the names or anything. This is a big no in the group. And then posted it on her own personal page so everyone could beat up that poster without giving the opportunity for that person to come in and say, look, this isn't even fair. But then she went and was like mad that she got kicked out of the group. Well, she left on her own because she realized we were pretty upset with her. She got mad and started creating all this side drama because we were trying to protect one of our own. And people just don't understand what they contribute to a situation causes their own drama.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like law of attraction. What you put out there, you attract. You start doing that, and there's so many people I've seen that they do the rumor thing, and, oh, did you hear this, or did you hear this? Pretty soon they get the right individuals that will just suck right into that.
Yep.
When I hear it, I walk away from those people. I don't talk to the people. I will say, like, in a situation, say we're all at dinner or an activity, and I'll see the person and I'm walking by them, I'll say hi, and I say hi, and that's it. And then I walk away, and I go put myself with other people, because I know from experience they've been the circle of drama and everything, and I stay clear of it. I don't associate with them.
So I've always had the ability to steer clear of drama, and Everett probably knows this because we went to high school together. And for some reason, I've always just been able to avoid drama. And I think it comes down to when I was entering high school, my mom said something to me that was just very powerful. She said, before you speak about anybody, pretend that they are recording you and they will listen to it, and you have to watch them as they listen to what you say. And I'll tell you, to this day, it stops me dead in my tracks.
It's a good one.
We need to have your mom on again, Terry, so she can give us more wisdom.
Well, let's get her to heal first. She looks pretty beaten up.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is very good, because in all actuality, if you really want to, like a lot of people say, I want to be the fly on the wall. If you really want to hear what other people would have to say or see their reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something we all can think about. That's a good one.
Yeah, I've never been one to just openly hash out about a friend that's not there. I think that's probably why I'm so blunt to today, because I'm just like, hey, people are going to respect me if I really tell you what I think. So
yeah,
tell them what I think.
And what kind of reputation do we want of ourselves? How do we want to feel about ourselves as well? I mean, you can ask 20 people about a certain individual, and you're going to get 20 separate answers, because those 20 people have different experiences with you. So it's not going to be the same.
It comes down to one word, Eric.
What's that?
It comes down to one word: perception.
Yeah.
That's all it comes down to, is perception.
Yeah. But how do we feel about ourselves as well in that? How do we feel about ourselves? How do we portray ourselves and want to be seen when we walk in amongst friends, when we walk in around other people? How do we want to be known? Or how do we want people to feel about us when we walk in, as far as or hey?
Well, we don't want to be the person that people don't want to talk to us. Because there's those people, you realize they are constantly telling me everything about everyone else. And you automatically know, okay, I can't share much of anything with this person, because more than likely they're telling my stuff to everyone else as well. And so, we definitely don't want to be that person for sure. And we want to steer clear of people like that. We still be kind to them and befriend them, but just don't open up to them, obviously, because it'll probably make it away. They're all the way around all the friend groups. So
Yep.
Absolutely. What I'd like to do is take a little time and open it up for the audience. And we're going to ask people to raise their hands one at a time. If you have a question you would like to pose, please feel free to raise your hand and ask the question. But I also would love to hear from anyone in the audience, going back to the original question of, is it appropriate to reach out to somebody's ex? Because we did have some different views in there, and they're all respected. I don't want anyone to feel like they're gonna, just open themselves up to be trashed or anything else, because this is just an opportunity to discuss how this goes, right? This is not an opportunity to say like you're wrong and we're right. If you've got something that you would like to add and say, I think there are times when it would be appropriate to reach out to somebody's ex, and here is why. I'd love to hear from them, because I think that is a great, there can be a good argument made for that. Obviously, there can be some good arguments made against it. We've heard that very strongly. So if anybody has any questions that they would like to ask, or if they would like to contribute to that, we would love to hear from you. Please raise your hand. Let's see, I think it's Alt-Y, if I'm not mistaken, or Control-Y if you're using a Mac. So just in the chat, I think you just type that in and it'll raise your hand.
I did see a comment down there, only if the person has permission. I think that is also very wise, that if you want, get somebody's permission if you want to ask about them or something like that, so that they're aware.
Okay. Fantastic.
yeah, I guess that would be if they're saying, hey, yeah, please go do it or whatever. That's an option, but still weird, but yeah. Could be. All right, Joanna, you're up.
And you can turn on your camera and microphone, or if you would prefer to stay off camera, you can just turn on your microphone, whichever works better for you.
I can't turn on my camera for some reason.
Oh, we can give you the option. Hang on one sec.
Sometimes. There we go. Try that.
There
we go.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I just finished finals, so excuse my mess.
Oh, yeah.
You're all good.
Okay. Yeah, this is such a great topic. Yeah, I personally think that what I do is I get to know the person for 2-3 months. It doesn't pass over 2 months, and I get to know the person, and I ask a lot of questions. I listen a lot, and I share my experience. I share a little bit about myself, and I listen to them, where you come from, how did you grow up, what are your likes, dislikes, if they're married, how was your marriage? I don't push too much about the marriage at the beginning. I just get to know them for the first few months. If I see red flags, I don't see why going through the wife. I just don't go there. I move on. Why waste my time? I just don't do that. We have a sense, in our hearts, and we know that if something is wrong, something is wrong.
Right.
If the person is not being honest with us, then we would know that. If the person is honest with us, then he won't have nothing to hide, and I probably would meet their kids, or he will go pick up his kids with his ex-wife, and he's not amicable with the kids, then that's fine, but I don't get in between the ex-wives or the ex-kids. That's their business. That comes along later, if I'm engaged or marriage. I don't get in between the last relationships, that's too much drama. I feel like we're adults now, and we shouldn't be doing that, and talking about other people. I don't want to make brownie points to look myself better, just to get the guy. because eventually, he's going to find out who you really are, and that's how there's a lot of divorces. You have to be who you really are, show who you really are, from the beginning. Honesty is best policy, and whether they're going to like you or not, and then you will find your soulmate. It has taken me so many years of therapy to try to learn that. And yeah, and I have difficulty like having a relationship because I date for 2 months and then it's over. It's like over because, okay, you lied about this, or maybe it's not necessarily that they're a bad person. It's just that we do not match
Right.
because of whatever, especially if a man is going to gossip at 40 or 30, I don't want nothing to do with that,
Yeah.
so
Agree.
yeah, that's
You
my,
know,
just
it's
my opinion.
interesting. If Corey were here, our other host, Corey Hubbard, if he was here, he would be telling us, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, but he has learned a lot because of his line of work. And he's under the impression that someone can only hide their truth self for, I think it's like 9 months. I don't quote me exactly, but there's a certain point in time where it's like they can hide who they are, they can hide who they are, and it kind of goes along. But at some point in time, like it's almost like even narcissists and stuff, they all of a sudden something breaks and they're not able to really hide all of their aspects of themselves. And so I don't think there's ever really a need to go to the ex. If you're investing the time in the relationship, if you're being prayerful, if you're using your own logic and mind and experiences to see and hear and see how they interact with everybody. And if you wait it out long enough to where it's like past that time where you can say, okay, this is the real person or whatever. Like, I just don't see it. I don't see the need to go to the ex. I don't grasp that concept at all. So I wish Corey were here. He had a whole bunch of details on that. I just don't know it all, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
Vanessa. Yeah, thank you, Joanna. Vanessa, you're up.
I can't start my video, which is,
Oh.
I mean, okay, I can just do audio. but
We will give
Oh.
you permission.
There we go. Hi. So I agree that there can be situations when it might be a good idea if you have permission and, I would say it's like you're in a serious relationship and you're discussing things with your partner and you've discussed it with them, like, could I talk to your ex? Otherwise, I wouldn't go through it because, again, I put this in the chat, but of course, what they have to say is going to be biased. I did want to say that I was going to one of the book club groups, the singles groups, and before I'd seen this book before then, but this book is amazing.
It is good. It's a good book.
And it's not, jerks are not just men. It's like the author came and talked to us and he says, or jerkette, it's just not on the cover. So it's not like anti-guys. It's anti-jerks. And one of the things that he says is absolutely for sure, you need to know somebody for a minimum of 3 months before making any kind of decisions. So like that 90 days, it's
What, no more
just
2-month marriages? Come on now.
yeah, tell me about it. Okay, I will say we all know there's exceptions to everything, right? But that means that doesn't mean like you know someone for 3 months and then you're like, I'm gonna marry. It means you know them for 3 months and then you're like, I'm gonna keep getting to know you. And he goes through like many, many, many different levels of just getting to know someone. The biggest chunk of this book is like 5 different ways and levels of things you should get to know about someone. And yes, some people who are very skilled and would clinically be diagnosed with certain, I don't want to know, disorder or whatever, they can hide that for up to, hello, my family, for possibly 9 months or more.
Yeah.
So
that's what he was saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Take your time. It's patterns over time.
Yeah.
And don't rush.
All right. Great words. Words of wisdom, there,
thank
Vanessa.
you.
Thank you.
Vanessa's going to be on soon, right?
And I'm thinking she
Discussing the
could
book.
be.
She can come and like give us some of the wisdom. That'd be
She's
great.
gonna
Now
get
I'm thinking
email.
I love learning ways that you can get to know people, like good discussion topics and things like that. And just, how can you find out more about body language, different things like that. So that's definitely a book I think I'll get and listen to so I can have more things to learn about to get to know people better.
Yeah, I think really just the bottom line is if you are healthy in your own right and you are kind of like you're doing, Eric, focusing on yourself, just being happy, being you and being the best you can be, you're going to attract those type of people. I think for sure you're going to find somebody that, I mean, if you're a nice, healthy person and you're happy in life, I would think, and this is just my opinion, that your chances of running into and just dating somebody who is a complete disaster are much less. You're probably going to attract somebody a little more like you.
Mhm. I believe that from what I think the book The Secret has a lot of very good definite points to it, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. It's like anything else out there. You have to put the work involved. You have to put the action in it, just like the four agreements. The four agreements, action. You have to do the action to make things happen. So you do it like I like to hike. I love hiking, and it's become a passion of mine. And it seems like every time I reach out to somebody or whatever, or somebody likes or loves a picture of my hiking one, I'll go and I'll go and contact them through Messenger or whatever. And I'm always asking, hey, are you a hiker? Do you like to hike? Just because it's so much fun. And it's an easy way to make a connection with somebody, but it's also an attraction as well. And so it's an easy way to connect, and it's one of those things that I like and I'm attracted to, somebody that does that.
So let me ask you another question then, kind of piggybacking off of some of the things we've discussed so far. You are just kind of playing out a scenario here. You become a victim of somebody spreading false rumors about you. It sounds like you've kind of run into this before in the groups, right? So somebody comes along and says, hey, Eric is a such and such, he's doing this, or like, watch out for that guy. And you know this is getting around. What do? What's the best way to handle that? Do you go straight to the source? Do you try and like talk to other people, or do you just rise above it and say, you know what, let them talk, but the real me will shine through? What do you do?
One situation that I was in, I found out of a couple other people that were in the same vicinity, and I talked to them and got more facts about what was going on, because they were on the outside looking in, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I got more information. So I got pretty much the same story from 2 or 3 or 4 different people. So I had a pretty good idea of what the truth was. And then I went to the person and said, okay, this is what I've been told. This is what I would believe. You have your own story, whatever. But yeah, I would rather, I'll go to the person and talk to the person about it and just see if I can make things clear and have a discussion about it, and see if things can be cleared up. I would much rather go to somebody and say, let's clear this up and have a friendship out of it, versus have it never have it cleared up and be enemies, or not, have things very, very uncomfortable every time you see each other.
Yeah.
But
So-
that's my choice too, and I don't have a hard time doing that, because 9 out of 10 times it's false, it's misunderstanding, or the person felt this way because of this, and maybe there's something I did, maybe this person felt this about me, or maybe I came across a little too hard, or maybe I asked a question one too many times. And so, okay, what can I learn from it to better myself so that I don't do the same mistake again? Maybe I came off too forward or whatever. Can I learn from it to improve myself so I don't do that again and don't make another person feel uncomfortable, for example? So I also have learned to see what I can learn from each experience to better myself, to make myself a better person, a better communicator.
Okay. So it looks like Doug would really like to answer this question too. He's kind of in the chat. I don't know if you want to turn your camera on or your mic on, Doug, or just pop on over. See how easy that is?
Pop on in.
Just pop on over. So I love this question because
Awkward.
It's all good.
all right. This is something that I've been dealing with like recently. And at first it was causing me some great stress and anxiety because it was hurting my reputation amongst the group of people that were believing what was being said. But then I got peace with it because I realized I don't have to do anything about it because I'm accountable to God, first and foremost. I'm not necessarily accountable to them. Sure, I'll make myself available. I know who I am. I know what I have and haven't done. And I know that I'm right with my God.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm engaged in good causes. So I kind of felt like, one, if I'm getting resistance or people that want to slander me, well, that's because Satan doesn't like what I'm doing. So I kind of look at it that way. But also, I also believe that the people that actually want to know the truth are emotionally intelligent people. And for those people that don't want to know the truth and won't come to me and talk to me about it, or won't search out the truth themselves, this may be blunt and maybe I have to apologize for this in advance, but I don't like dealing with stupid people.
Yeah.
Like, so if they're not going to come and talk to me, then whoever's starting these false rumors, they've done me a favor. They've weeded out the people that I know I already don't want to deal with anyway.
That is like one of the very first lessons you learn in counseling, right? Like it's not our job to go out and clear our name with everyone around us. Like, we just need to be firm in who we are, know that the Lord knows the truth and we know the truth. Those who believe the lies or whatever, it's up to them to come search out the truth from us, right? It's not our job to go out there and clear our name. Now, if we want to, okay, whatever. But in all actuality, you can find peace in knowing that, like you say, it's like, that's their loss, Doug. Like, I don't want to be around people like that if they're not going to try to search out the truth. But that really is their job. It's not our job in counseling. We should be able to let that go.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too. People are going to make their own opinions, whether you say your side or not. I find that if people over explain, I instantly just think, okay, and you don't have to explain your side unless somebody directly comes to you and says, hey,
exactly,
on this. Yeah. Just let it be, let it die out, because it's like a season, right? So it will die out and then they'll move on because you have not given them the reaction they want.
Exactly.
And truth,
the reaction they want, they're going to move on to somebody who's going to give them reaction. All I do is I just go, oh, okay, that's nice. I didn't know that about myself. And I just keep
the more I proactively do something about it, the more I give that thing power.
Yeah.
Right.
So don't.
So,
and it also, sometimes it makes you look like you're defensive, like you're trying to protect yourself and cover up the lies and stuff. But there, in one of President Benson's books, because he was, an amazing author, he points out that time is on the side of truth. So at some point in time, truth will come out, and those individuals will see the reality and see that they were accepting lies as truth, and then it becomes their issue to deal with. As long as we're clear, again, like I said, with us and the Lord, it really doesn't matter. Time, and at some point in time, whether it be this life, the next life, wherever, truth will be revealed, and the truth will be made known. And it, you know, then our name can be cleared. Maybe not while we're alive, but at some point in time it'll happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's easy, you know, like Eric, when you were saying before, you just kind of go and clear it up with them and things. And that's easy when it's like a misunderstanding. But when it's an outright lie that somebody is spreading about you because of whatever motivation they have at the time, maybe they're jealous, or maybe they are, you know, upset at something you did, and so this is the way to get back at you, whatever that might be. I mean, I'm along the lines of what Doug was saying, that it's just kind of giving it power when you go and try and defend yourself. Then you look defensive and bad.
Yeah, it can come across wrong.
I've
It doesn't mean
also
you
just-
can't. Some people
When I-
want to.
Yeah.
Right,
When
Eric.
I've heard that there's a lie being told about me before, I've also gone to the person that I know that said that lie and said, let me clear this up with you. Not necessarily to give them power, but just maybe they had a misunderstanding. Maybe they heard something different from somebody else or whatever. But if it's something simple, if it's something else, you know, whatever.
So the only time I ever do that, Eric, is when I feel like I've hurt their feelings. And then I want to rectify that for myself and for them, but mainly for me, to make sure that we are good and that I did not hurt their feelings, or I did not intend to hurt their feelings. And Doug knows this because I've done this to him. And I have no problems doing it. But I'm just like, but, you know, I did not mean that. And I did not mean it in that way.
Right.
If somebody is spreading a rumor about me and they say it, I walk away from it, because that's giving it,
him. Yeah.
and it doesn't need any of my attention.
Right.
I kind of
Right.
realized that with the person that started that rumor, they have helped people reveal something about themselves that I may not have gotten any other way. And I kind of want to send that person that started the rumor a fruit basket. Thank you for helping me realize my true friends. I appreciate it.
What
But you
you're
don't
saying is, if you want a free fruit basket, start a rumor about Doug. He'll send it.
That's right.
There you go.
Hey, as long as it's like peaches,
If
I'm
you
gonna
need
start
some
thinking about
ideas,
you.
Right.
All right, thanks for coming on, Doug. Okay, we will. It's
We got Heidi
11.
next, I think, and then
So
Naomi.
yeah, we'll just do Heidi. Come on, Heidi.
Sorry,
You're
in
fine.
the middle of typing.
You know,
It's
I saw
okay.
your like rotten fruit.
So
Hey, it's been a while, Heidi.
I know, long time no see.
Right.
We were just in Boise this last weekend.
Oh, very cool.
It was so fun. My two youngest kids sang karaoke in public. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, and this is probably just my perspective, because I've grown out of a lot of tendencies, for the most part, to soften my opinions or equivocate in how I talk, because I don't want to offend someone, or I want to make sure they think well of me, or things like that. And I also have the tendency to kind of bounce from one extreme to the other, trying to hit the healthy balance in the middle. And I just kind of wanted to pop on and kind of talk about what I've learned is that you can have that healthy balance. You can not be apologetic for who you are and still not be being a jerk. Does that make sense?
Are you talking about if somebody's spreading a rumor, you can kind of go and apologize
Right.
to that? Okay.
Right. Not that we would necessarily think we need to apologize for someone starting a rumor about us, but I think sometimes, and like I said, maybe nobody else here has that issue, but sometimes I sometimes think I feel, I don't know if it's the right term, but almost worse than I should about something I've done, because I feel so horrible if somebody is upset with me or doesn't, or thinks that I did something on purpose, yada, yada, yada. And I think Terry kind of hit it. She was talking about people that are over explaining, or in my mind, I was kind of thinking of like over apologizing. We just need to take accountability for what's ours, and we just need to leave the rest alone. And if it isn't true, something about us, then as long as we have been on the level in the relationships that we have, and I don't mean romantic strictly, I just mean relationships we have with other human beings, that's not our stone to put in our backpack. What was I telling my sister when I was on vacation? That's not my monkey. It's not for me to carry. So it's not for us to be upset about. I mean, it is upsetting, I suppose, to have somebody tell lies or whatever. If someone does this about me, I'm fairly blissfully ignorant. I don't know what's happening, so.
Yeah.
But I think it's just important to not try and own responsibility for things that really aren't in our circle to own.
It's hard when you hear these things being said about you, because we all have a natural tendency to want to be loved, to want to have people view us in a positive light. And when you hear somebody especially saying something that is untrue, or the worst, a half truth, right? Then there's this kind of almost knee-jerk reaction to say, no, that's not true. That's bull crap. I'm going to totally like stomp that out. But then it kind of almost makes us, like we've been talking about, look defensive. Just having that ability to stop and say, let them have that moment, right? It's
right. And sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably, like has been said here before, do more damage going out there and essentially trying to make ourselves look good rather than just let it be said. You know, if that's what people want to believe, that's okay. But the people who know us are going to know what is true versus what is gossip. So
yeah, something I don't know, like necessarily when it comes up, but something I find myself telling people is, because I'm kind of a just out there person, like this is who it is. And sometimes I'll be real enough that I think, yeah, I think maybe I should stuff those words back in my mouth or whatever. But I think that a lot of the times I think, well, you know what? They might as well know who I am, because eventually they will. And so they're either gonna not like me now, or they're gonna not like me later. So might as well be now.
yeah.
You might as well know who they're dealing with.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Heidi. I appreciate it. So we are kind of wrapping it up here, running short on time, but Eric,
Yes.
kind of give you the last word. I really appreciate you coming on here. Thank you for being such a wonderful guest. Any last words of wisdom for us from your mentor / The Secret, or anything else that you have learned that you would say, all right, steer clear of this when it comes to gossip. This is how you hold yourself.
I think a lot of it has to do, like I said, like Terry said, is where's our maturity level? I think people need to, in the singles world, there's a lot of people out there that are still not healed, that don't know who they are yet, that don't know that are not quite emotionally, mentally healed, stable, etc. You know, there's no shame in going to therapy at all. There's no shame in getting a therapist. There's no shame in getting a mentor. There's no shame in getting help, because if you're still hurting, if you're still dealing with triggers and things like that, you got to deal with it at some point in time, and to get healthy, to learn to be happy, to learn how to choose to be happy, and because if you're not healthy with yourself, you shouldn't be in a relationship, because it's not going to be healthy. So I think the best thing for people to do, and we can do, is just, is seek help if it's needed, and work on ourselves until that point in time comes when we meet somebody. We always have the Lord given us our life to become like him. That is a whole lifetime of change, of progression. That's not just until we're 25. That's not just until we meet somebody new again. That's a whole lifetime of progression to change and become better. We have to have the desire, obviously, but I think the best thing we can do while we're single, and even when we get in a marriage, again, a relationship, continue improving ourselves and striving to become better people.
Yeah.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Yep, I agree.
Absolutely. Well, Eric, I appreciate it. This is truly one of those topics that we could dig around for a long time. We've
Oh, yeah.
all probably experienced it at one point or another. We all probably will still experience it at one point or another. It's a very tough and difficult thing to feel like this is happening to us. But hopefully there are some nuggets here that people can walk away with and say, okay, I feel a little better about this, even if I am a victim of it or something else. Or maybe you are one of those type of people who likes to gossip. And maybe this has given you a chance to kind of pause and take a second chance and say, maybe not in the best interest of, everybody and myself included. So having said that, Eric.
I've found also that there's a lot of people I think out there that could be that maybe it's a shame to them that, oh, I'm with a therapist or whatever. Like I said, there's no shame in that. I've had so many people when I've told them that I'm working with a mentor to become a better person, to become healthier. There's so many people that have, just the positive feedback from that has been great. So same thing. I think people need to realize that it's okay to do that and there's no shame in that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Eric, thank you again. I am going to kind of throw in the chat here. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please give us a subscription on that and give us a like on Facebook. We love to help have your support on the show, kind of keep things growing here and keep these topics rolling. So having said that, Eric, thank you so much for being on. I feel like this has been a great topic to discuss. Again, this is one that really is probably, I don't know that there's anybody that's really dodged gossip entirely in their life. If you have, you live on that island that I was talking about before and nobody knows who you are. So having said that, this is the point of the show where we go ahead and stop the recording and then we ask people if you would like to open it up for the general audience